Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public, informational, nonpartisan program designed to get the public acquainted with the candidates vying for the 2024 general election races of Kaiser City Mayor, Kaiser City Council, Marion County Sheriff, Senate District 9, House Districts 17 through 23, and Congressional Districts 5 and 6. These interviews come to you through the producers at Capital Community Media with collaboration on questions and moderators from the American Association of University Women and the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties. All candidates for these races were invited, and 65% chose to participate. Candidates did not receive the questions prepared by the League of Women Voters ahead of time. Candidates were invited to prepare a 2-minute opening addressing their background and qualifications for the office and 2-minute closing remarks. I'm Rebecca Coleman-Lurbach from the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties, and I would like to introduce Ed Diehl, who is running for representative for House District 17. Welcome, Mr. Diehl, and we look forward to your opening remarks.
Yeah, Rebecca, great to meet you and happy to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you again for having me and for making this, helping me get the word out to folks. Yeah, I just finished my first term as a legislator, and it was a great experience. I'm looking forward to hitting it again this next go around. My background is in engineering, so I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. I had a business in Albany that did factory automation and control systems. I'm not a career politician. In fact, my political experience prior to running for office was voting and complaining. That was my political experience. But I've really enjoyed it so far. I've lived in my community in the Santiam Canyon District, House District 17, which covers East Salem through the canyon. I've lived here for, I think, 27 years now with my wife. We raised our kids here. Our kids went to public schools in Staten. I serve on the Santiam Hospital and Clinics Board. I serve on Catholic Community Services Foundation Board. And I believe strongly that people need to be engaged in their community and serve. I think we have an obligation to serve in any capacity that works for us. And for me, I felt called to serve in the legislature. So, and I look forward to doing that for another 2 years.
Thank you very much. Are you ready to answer a few of our questions?
You bet. Go for it.
All right. Do you believe Oregon has the resources to provide adequate access to affordable, quality health care to Oregonians?
That's a really good question. I serve on the Behavioral Health and Healthcare Committee, and I also serve on the Joint Ways and Means Human Services Committee. I think with human services, about 40% of our entire state budget, when you look at federal money and state money, goes toward healthcare. I think in a lot of areas we do a pretty good job, but I'll say one area that I'm pretty passionate about and that I focused on, and that is severely lacking in our state, is behavioral health care. So when we look at behavioral health, we're talking about mental health services and substance use services. And we are severely lacking in that area. And we have some real work to do. We had a gaps analysis done last year, showed 3,000 beds short for adult behavioral health services. So that's just, residential treatment centers. And it's not just beds, it's people, it's staff, it's therapists and counselors and nurses and so on. That does not count the shortage we have for youth. So we have a lot of work to do there. So I am committed to increasing funding in that area, to find out where we have barriers so we can get both nonprofit entities and for-profit entities coming into our state and providing these services. And regarding our local area, I'm very happy to say that Madrona Recovery Services, which is an entity that's focused on youth substance use treatment, received a grant and is looking at setting up shop in the Hillcrest facility. So that facility hasn't been used for a while. I introduced them to that facility. It's got huge potential. It needs some work, but it's got tremendous potential to be a campus, to cover a broad spectrum of care with different levels of acuity. And I really look forward to working with them and seeing those services in our community.
Great. Well, we're going to switch topics.
That
Um, what is the future of hydropower in Oregon with its dependency on the Columbia River?
Well, I hope that future is very, very strong. I oppose getting rid of hydropower dams. I know that there's a movement in some circles to remove the dams. I think that would be a terrible mistake. When it comes to energy, we all want clean air, we want clean water, and with energy, we want it plentiful and reliable and cost effective. Hydropower is clean and it provides a good base load of power. It's there when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing. So I guess I want to see us stabilize our hydropower. I don't see any more dams going in, but I absolutely will oppose any dams being removed.
Thank you. What is the role of House District 17 in helping cities and counties with policy and funding issues dealing with houselessness? What ideas do you support?
Yeah, I think I break it up in a couple areas. There's the cost of housing. I want affordable housing that working class folks can afford to buy or to rent. And so the legislature did a little bit of work, actually quite a bit of work in the last session to give some cities the ability to expand their growth boundary and build more homes. So I think that's good. Another issue we have is just the unhoused community, the homelessness that we have, and that's a more complicated issue that definitely overlaps heavily with substance use problems and mental health issues. So I believe we need to be able to provide shelter for those folks. I wouldn't call it housing. I do not believe in the housing first model, but I think that they do deserve shelter, and we need to find a way to get them into the kinds of treatment they need so they can lead productive lives.
Thank you. Going back to energy now, how can we reconcile the urban-rural balance between energy suppliers, energy distributors, and needs?
The what I believe strongly is we need solid baseload power. I am a pro nuclear power person. Nuclear energy, today's nuclear energy is cost effective. It's carbon, has one of the lowest carbon footprints of any of the green energy options. It's very safe. It's modular and scalable. We can put a nuclear power plant in a footprint of about 20 to 30 acres that would take thousands of acres of solar panels to provide the equivalent amount of power. And it would provide power 24/7. And with that kind of infrastructure, we will not require as many wires. We won't have to clutter our lands, our beautiful Oregon lands, with power lines if we went with nuclear power. In fact, there's a coal-powered plant, an old plant that was dismantled. You can take and reuse that existing infrastructure with a nuclear facility, reuse those power lines, reuse those substations. And I think in the whole scheme of things, it produces less of an environmental footprint than some of the other options we're looking at.
Thank you. How does Oregon achieve financial stability in the next 10 years?
That's the challenge we have is we raise our revenue primarily from an income tax, and it is inherently volatile. Uh, some other tax structures are a little more stable. But I think the best thing we can do is to make sure that we don't get we are always looking forward and making sure that we're not that our expenditures are not exceeding our ability to generate revenue. I think we do a pretty decent job at that. We forecast our revenue and we spend within our means. And if we do a good job of forecasting like we have, we're okay. And we always save a little bit for a rainy day. So I believe that if we follow a good diligence on that front, basically the way we budget is kind of like a good household budgets. They figure out how much money is coming in, and that tells them how much they can spend on this and that. And then they put a little money in the bank to save just in case. So I believe if we continue that, we'll be fine. The challenge is if we have a boom year and then we just go for it and we spend all that money knowing that there's a good likelihood that the revenue might drop in the future, and then we're in real trouble.
Thank you. This next question's sort of convoluted. The Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, the Oregon Department of Agriculture, the Oregon Water Resources Department, and the Oregon Health Authority released an 8-year nitrate reduction plan that outlines how each state agency will work to lower nitrate levels in eastern Oregon. What does that mean for coastal and valley areas?
Well, I don't have a good answer for you on that. I know that is designed to deal with a specific problem that has come up with well water contamination in eastern Oregon. I think what we need to do on the western side is learn from that mistake and make sure it doesn't happen here. But I can't tell you how those regulations will affect farming and agriculture on this side of the Cascades.
Thank you. I think we probably have time for one more question. Can you describe what you consider to be a positive and a negative impact if there is expansion of urban growth boundaries within the state in order to make room for a major semiconductor or advanced manufacturing project?
Yeah, it's something I really have mixed feelings about. I love technology. We need great jobs in Oregon. We need good paying jobs, but I also appreciate the farmland and the landscape that we have in this state. So there has to be some compromise on that issue. And it really has people divided. I think what we're looking at now, I was on the Joint Semiconductor Committee in 2023. I support the semiconductor industry and expanding that in Oregon. I was not a fan of giving the governor essentially dictatorial powers to annex land. I felt that should be a decision by the legislature. We represent the people. If you're going to vote if you want to take land out of take farmland and make it semiconductor land, then vote and be accountable to your voters. Don't delegate that to the governor. So, but I think what we're looking at now, and I'm thinking specifically of what the governor's considering, will probably be, say, 300 acres. It will not be a 1,700 acre taking. It will probably be 300 acres on land that the farmers are looking to sell in the first place. I can accept that as an outcome.
Great. Well, thank you. You have about 15 seconds if you want to try to answer one more question.
Sure.
Speaking to your particular district, what do you see happening in the areas of growth, emergency preparedness, and financial changes?
Oh, at 15 seconds? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll hit on emergency preparedness. I was part of the long-term recovery group coming out of the wildfires. And we see that, we're focused on having a recovery center to be there as a permanent thing to support the canyon and the residents in East Salem as well.
Thank you. You did
You
great.
bet.
Sorry for that. You are welcome now to share your 2-minute closing comments about your goals for this office if elected, or any other remarks you wish to share. Please also share your contact information so the public can reach out to you.
You bet. You know, I think for Oregon, and it's one of the reasons I got into this job. I've got other things I could be doing, but for 4 decades we've had really one-party governance in this state. The Oregonian recently did an article that called Oregon a one-party state, and especially in the last 10 years. And I think what happens in that is you get agencies that are no longer accountable. There's this kind of incestuous relationship between the majority party and the agencies, and frankly, it wouldn't matter if it was flipped and it was Republicans in charge for 40 years. That kind of a one-party rule is a problem. And so I really am focused on bringing balance back to the legislature and making sure that the state agencies and the legislature are working for everybody in Oregon, not just certain interests. And what I hear a lot from my constituents, they've got utility costs that are going sky high. They've got schools that are poor, that are performing poorly. They're worried about safety in their streets and the drug use in their streets. These are just basic things that I think we just need to get back to basics of good governance, making sure we're directly accountable to the people that have elected us. And that is why I'm in that building.
Thank you very much, Candidate Diehl, for our interview today and for sharing your thoughts.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to thank also Capital Community Media for their extensive technology and producing skills that were used to create this program, and to thank the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties for designing and preparing this program. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become an informed voter. For more local, state, and national voter information on candidates and ballot issues, visit vote411.org after September 30th, when candidate data is posted. You have until October 15th to register to vote or to make changes to your registration. Ballots go out October 16th and will be accepted and counted if postmarked before or on November 5th. Candidate Diehl, if you're still there, do you have a website that we could mention?
Yes, eddiehl.com, EDGIEHL.com.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot to ask you at the
No,
end of
I
your
missed
remarks.
it. But you can find my email address there, as well as my links to my social media accounts.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Well, don't forget, elections matter. Remember to vote because your vote counts.